This is CNN.
Signs of brighter economic times ahead. What the sold sign says about the state of the U.S. economy. Is the White House Chief of Staff's job on the line? The White House addresses rumors that John Sununu's days are numbered. And flames lick dangerously close to homes in the Los Angeles area. Firefighters there scramble to keep that fire from spreading. This is Newsday. Hello, I'm Lou Waters. Cheryl Atkerson is off today. Sold is a sign turning up outside more and more homes up for sale in the U.S., and it's not only a welcome sign for new homeowners, it could also be a welcome sign for the economy. Sales of existing homes climbed 1% in October. That's the first increase in 4 months. The month's resale rate was 2.6% above the same rate last year. Analysts are encouraged by the latest figures. They say in the tug of war over low interest rates and a gloomy economic forecast, home buyers are giving in to the low rates. Mortgage rates dropped to their lowest point in 14 years at the end of last month. Analysts say it's a sign low interest rates finally are making an impact. Congress is working to keep a package of popular tax breaks from expiring at the end of the year. Congress adjourns for the year Tuesday or Wednesday. 2 congressional tax panels are racing against that deadline to try to extend 12 tax breaks through next June. Among the items in the bill, easing the tax burden of investors who build or rehabilitate housing for low-income folks, and giving a tax break to workers whose employers provide them with education or legal benefits. President Bush says Congress has gutted the crime bill of key provisions, and the president says he will veto it.
2.5 years ago, I sent to the Congress comprehensive crime legislation to strengthen and toughen our criminal justice system. The conference committee, it's the way it works back in Washington, last night reported a bill that is simply not acceptable. So let me be clear, I would have to veto this bill because it would weaken our criminal justice system.
Senate and House negotiators settled yesterday on the compromise crime bill. It still has to be approved by the full House and Senate. The wide-ranging bill would require a 5-day waiting period for handgun purchases and expand the federal death penalty. Mr. Bush was unhappy that Congress dropped provisions to limit appeals and loosen rules on gathering evidence. Congress is trying to finish up several other bills before it adjourns for the holidays. In addition to the crime bill, lawmakers are working on a measure to fund highway repair and mass transit systems, and one to prop up the Federal Deposit Insurance Fund. They also hope to expand the unemployment relief package. The White House is closing ranks around John Sununu, the Chief of Staff, who has been widely criticized in the past week in a series of White House snafus on the economy, and some Republicans have called for Sununu's firing. Today, presidential spokesman Marlin Fitzwater said Sununu's job is not in danger, and the First Lady, Barbara Bush, denied weekend reports that she is disgusted by Sununu's confrontational style. Mrs. Bush called the reports ugly as she spoke to UPI reporter Helen Thomas.
Are you trying to get rid of John Sununu?
No, absolutely.
You are being quoted all over the place.
By who?
In all your publications, all over the place.
That tells you something, doesn't it, Helen? That tells you something.
Quoting you.
They can't be quoted. And so everybody is listening. If that's what you're believing, don't believe it.
A little hard to hear, but Mrs. Bush, as you probably heard, said she is not gunning for John Sununu. Fitzwater also said he does not anticipate any shakeout in the White House staff. On a separate matter, Marlin Fitzwater says President Bush still wants to see Saddam Hussein removed from power, but Fitzwater is denying that a special committee is reviewing proposals to overthrow the Iraqi president to protect President Bush's political interests. A story in today's Washington Post says President Bush formed such a panel to counter criticism that he left the Gulf War unfinished. That's an issue likely to be used by opposing presidential candidates. Fitzwater did emphasize a previous statement by President Bush which said, quote, "There will be no normal relations with Iraq as long as Saddam Hussein is in power." As the William Kennedy Smith rape trial nears, the defense and prosecution are gearing up for a courtroom war of attrition. All week we'll be previewing the proceedings. Today, CNN's Charles Jaco looks at strategies that have been in the planning stages for weeks now.
Did William Kennedy Smith rape a woman on the grounds of the Kennedy estate Easter weekend? Or was it sex between 2 consenting adults?
Date rape is hard to prove because you've got simply a swearing contest, one person's word against the other usually.
Both sides agree there was sex. The prosecution calls it sexual battery. The defense's number one argument?
That it was consensual intercourse at the beginning, and then afterwards she got angry for some reason or spiteful and decided to say that it was rape.
If we are willing to say that there was a crime, even if there's no gun and even if there's no knife, if no longer means yes in America today, then defendants are going to have to attack the credibility of the women who complain against them.
Defense number two, attack the alleged victim's credibility. For example, the bra defense, trying to show that her bra and panties were not torn, hinting that sex was voluntary.
There's no reason for bringing a bra out in front of the jury.
The lack of damage to these items will clearly prove Mr. Smith's innocence.
Then there's the Willie Smith isn't Ted Kennedy defense. Attorney Roy Black keeps asking potential jurors about the Massachusetts senator.
I don't have a whole lot of respect for Senator Kennedy.
He's always the butt of somebody's joke.
He's bashing Senator Kennedy in a merciless way, and I guess that's his job. He's got to distance Willie Smith from his famous uncle.
I don't see how you can say it's almost like the Kennedy family is on trial. It appears that the Kennedy family is on trial.
And experts say the heaviest ammunition of the trial may be in the hands of the prosecution if they're allowed to use it. 3 other women have claimed Smith sexually abused them in the past. Under Florida law, that evidence may be submitted here in Judge Mary Lupo's courtroom if it shows a pattern of conduct similar to the current charges. And this entire case may hinge on that testimony.
This kind of evidence about alleged other attacks is incendiary. It's very meaningful to the jury, probably more meaningful than it should be.
The other 3 women, if those come in to evidence before this jury, it's going to make it very difficult for Mr. Smith. If they do not, I think the state has a very difficult task to prove them guilty.
Judge Mary Lupo is expected to rule early in the trial whether their testimony will be allowed. And despite attacks on the alleged victim, the underwear defense, and the Kennedy defense, that ruling may determine the trial's outcome. Charles Jaco, CNN, West Palm Beach, Florida.
Still ahead on this news day, a fire of mysterious origin closes highways and threatens homes in California. We'll tell you about that. We'll also have a rare look at the military side of the United States space program. Later in the hour, more toys that may be hazardous to your children. We'll tell you what to avoid. And some insurance companies believe pets should have some people privileges. We'll tell you about the new policy. All ahead.
CompuServe is the world's largest network of people with personal computers. CompuServe can turn your computer into a limitless source of information and resources that will simplify your work and enrich your life. It combines the power of your computer with the convenience of your telephone to bring you hundreds of online services, like a reference library and international news wires. It helps you decide on investments, make airline reservations, and shop the electronic mall. It connects you with other computer owners and offers games against opponents around the country. Just call 1-800-522-4477 for more information or to join CompuServe. Just call this number today and get a membership kit for only $39.95 with usage charges as low as 10 cents a minute. CompuServe. You'll never stop finding new ways it can help you.
What is wild? Wild is an exciting blend of herbs and spices and the goodness of Uncle Ben's rice. Wild is Uncle Ben's long grain and wild rice, and wild is wonderful.
Every week on TBS. Wednesday means action. Wednesday means excitement. Wednesday means Bond. James Bond. I'm flattered. Get ready for Sean Connery and Roger Moore in a weekly dose of 007. Very clever, Mr. Bond. But of course. Every Wednesday is James Bond Wednesday, 8:05 Eastern, only on TBS.
A brush fire that swept through parts of California's San Fernando Valley still is burning. Fire officials say they've contained the fire, but they warn that erratic winds could make it flare up again. 450 firefighters fought the fire earlier today. Warm winds swept the brush fire from the hills into Sylmar, California. Barns and buildings there went up in smoke. Some sections of 2 freeways were forced to close. More than 100 Sylmar residents fled their homes as the flames crept closer.
They told us to evacuate. We were, it was about 1 o'clock in the morning, and then the fire was all around the housing tract. And the police were coming up and down the street, said, "We have a major brush fire, evacuate now." Everybody got out.
I wasn't too worried. I didn't think that they could jump the street. We're on the other side of the street, but firemen told us that the winds are so strong that they could just jump right across the street. But we all have tile roofs, so that's what they said saved every house up there.
No injuries have been reported. Authorities say at least 1,000 acres have been burned. The cause of the fire is under investigation. The head of the Environmental Protection Agency today sent a clear message to environmental polluters. William Riley says no corporation or individual lawbreaker is above the law, and that white-collar corporate environmental criminals can expect no breaks. Riley says the agency sent 474 criminal and civil cases to prosecution in the fiscal year just passed. Fines total more than $14 million, and 72 people were convicted and sentenced. Riley says polluters are criminals.
Environmental crime is no less a crime than theft or blackmail or assault. And more assuredly, if you do the crime, you'll do the time. As President Bush has said, our message about environmental law is simple. Polluters will pay.
He also said that 40% of individuals sent to jail were senior executives. Just hours after blasting off from Kennedy Space Center last night, the Atlantis astronauts already have accomplished their main task. CNN's Tom Mintier is with us to bring us up to date on developments. Tom.
Lou, they're starting their first full day in space aboard Atlantis, the crew of 6. At the Kennedy Space Center, after they left, it was turned over to those at Johnson Space Center. Here you can see a live picture from the Johnson Space Center, not the Kennedy Space Center, as you see. This is where they control the flight, and they have a very large book because this is a 10-day mission. And while it's going for 10 days, the major objective has already been accomplished. 6 hours after the launch of Atlantis, they sent out a $300 million, 5,200-pound satellite designed to detect missile launches. It joins at least 7 others in the program, a $6 billion system that the Pentagon has put together. They used it during the Gulf War so that they could spot Iraqi Scud launches, and they are adding another satellite to this system to span the globe. They can detect from the horizon when a rocket is launched. The Pentagon still has kept many of the details of this system secret, but since they have released the secrecy aboard DoD flights that are transported aboard the shuttle, we were at least able to know about this one when it went off. Well, the rest of the flight is going to be given over to the military. What they're going to be doing is a lot of observations. They'll be looking from the shuttle down to Earth and have the ability to detect troop movements as they pass over different areas that are pre-designated where military troops are doing maneuvers at this time. So they will try to determine what kind of an observer an astronaut would be from the height. We have seen in previous missions that the definition of the ground is extremely good. So there is a good chance that they'll be able to pick out these troop movements as they see them. Again, it's going to be a 10-day mission with these observations going on, as well as some of the medical observations. With the longer missions in space to come, they want to see what the effects of near weightlessness have aboard the astronauts. So we will continue to follow the Atlantis mission throughout the 10 days here on CNN. Lou?
Okay. Tom Mintier will be back with us from time to time. The holiday season is here, and in the words of one popular song, you better watch out. That's especially true when it comes to toy safety. Last year, more than 164,000 children were injured in toy-related accidents, yet the Institute for Injury Reduction says the government does little to regulate safety. It says the Consumer Product Safety Commission samples less than 1% of the toys for sale. The Institute says a number of toys pose choking hazards, including the Sesame Street block wagon, colored wooden blocks and wonder balloons, all by Tootsie Toy, fun jewelry by Illumination, Tommy's Mother and Baby Alligators, Handy Crafts Fairy Queen Play Phone, and Funrise Splat Balls. A number of other toys were cited as dangerous because of sharp edges or for miscellaneous hazards. Lawmakers today joined the call for action.
Children don't read the labels. Adults need to use common sense. We need to think back, and it's very hard sometimes to think back about what's dangerous and what isn't. And we need to stop thinking the Consumer Product Safety Commission is doing it all. They probably look at less than 1% of the toys that are out there. There's all sorts of imports. Even the things that they look at, we would like the standards to be tougher.
Today, the AFL-CIO announced a boycott of Chinese-made toys. The union says China uses forced labor and child labor in making many toys sold around the world. The union says half of all dolls and 40% of other toys come from China, and they urge consumers to read labels before buying. Still to come on Newsday, some soul-searching about the economy.
Imagine being born with the ability to meet any challenge expertly. That's the wonder of the Maxim XI from Minolta. With the experience of professionals programmed right in, it responds to any change of speed, or light, or distance automatically. For ultimate performance, the multi-talented Maxim XI, born experienced. Only from the mind of Minolta.
Tonight, it's the start of the holiday eating season. Richard Simmons will tell us how to enjoy all that turkey without ending up looking like one. Meet him tonight on Larry King Live, 9 Eastern on CNN.
International callers know what they want.
Something disappointing happens when you try to get a hold of your closest friend in Paris and the call doesn't go through. Hello, AT&T? Yes, I want to switch back.
As for the big savings I was supposed to get calling Canada, where? Yeah, AT&T? How do I switch back?
I also thought I could do better than AT&T. I should have known. Is this AT&T? Good. I want to come back.
Call now and you can come back to AT&T for free.
With my Reach Out World plan, I can talk to my brother in Toronto for just 18 cents a minute. I save even more when we talk about in 10 minutes.
You know what you want, so come back. It's easy. Call 1-800-533-0197 now and switch back to AT&T for free.
Gases are being released from a nuclear power plant in South Carolina today after radioactive water leaked inside a containment building. Duke Power Company operates that plant. A spokesman there says there's no threat from the small amount of radiation in the gases. The Oconee nuclear power plant near Seneca was on alert for 15 hours this weekend after more than 30,000 gallons of water leaked inside a reactor building. A work crew is expected to enter the reactor building tomorrow to find the source of the leak. Federal authorities say they've broken an international ring that laundered drug money through Rhode Island banks. 12 of the 13 people indicted in the case were arrested today. The indictments add another chapter to the tale of Rhode Island's troubled banks and savings and loans. Many were shut down, you recall, last January when the state's deposit insurance system there collapsed. Prosecutors say one bank that figured prominently in that collapse, Heritage Loan and Investment, was involved in the laundering ring. The ring allegedly cleared about $500 million for a Colombian cocaine cartel. A children's advocacy group says the nation's economic troubles are hitting young workers hard, and the group says that translates to poverty for many children. The Children's Defense Fund analyzed government statistics. It found that during the recession, more than 1 million workers under 25 have lost jobs. The fund says that threatens to push hundreds of thousands of children into poverty because most children are born into homes with parents under the age of 30. The fund says the United States is in a new era in which disproportionate economic pain falls on the youngest and most vulnerable. The Fund says the government should reach out to help young working families. There are many indicators as to the health of the economy. The closest, according to one group, is right under our feet. And CNN's Gary Tuckman has the story.
As economic problems continue to escalate for many, one particular economic indicator offers some interesting news. And while there are other indicators, this one can be called without argument the sole indicator.
I've been in this business for about 21 years, and that whenever the economy dips, people eventually have a tendency to get their shoes repaired rather than go out and buy shoes.
That's something people in the shoe repair and shoe shine industries have known for a long time. So based on that, the Kiwi Shoe Care product company decided to start a shoe care index. Last year, the company found that 71% of consumers were making an extra effort to take care of old shoes instead of buying new ones. But this year, the figure has gone down to 59%. So here's the rub. The great, complex, integrated economy of the United States of America is on the mend, according to Kiwi, because of a decrease in shoe care. But before you start losing sleep over all this economic excitement, note the survey shows it's only the first step on the road to recovery, because 59% is still considered a high figure.
I can't afford to buy new shoes. It's cheaper to do this.
Entrepreneurs have been capitalizing on the link between the economy and shoe repair by luring even well-heeled customers to repair their old shoes by offering home delivery.
We can prolong the life of these shoes, I would say, for an additional year's wearing.
And many shoe shiners have found they now have more repeat customers.
What I do is make sure I buy a good shoe so it would last longer.
But some shoe repair businesses are saying that perhaps Kiwi is right, because business hasn't been quite as good lately.
We're still doing some business, but not as good as it used to be.
Even the most enthusiastic boosters of the Kiwi Shoe Index say it won't be joining the company of the nation's leading economic indicators. After all, it may be interesting, but it's probably best taken tongue-in-cheek. Gary Tuckman, CNN, New York.
Just ahead, is it true holidays can cause unusual behavior? Consider the First Lady of the United States. We'll tell you about her behavior when we come back.
CompuServe is the world's largest network of people with personal computers. CompuServe can turn your computer into a limitless source of information and resources that will simplify your work and enrich your life. It combines the power of your computer with the convenience of your telephone to bring you hundreds of online services, like a reference library and international news wires. It helps you decide on investments, make airline reservations, and shop the electronic mall. It connects you with other computer owners and offers games against opponents around the country. Just call 1-800-522-4477 for more information, or to join CompuServe. Just call this number today and get a membership kit for only $39.95 with usage charges as low as 10 cents a minute. CompuServe. You'll never stop finding new ways it can help you.
And here's defender Bill Jackson warming up for his title bout with the challenger, the Stork Chocolate Reason. And the fight is on. Oh, it looks like the Stork Chocolate Reason may triumph this time, but hey, Bill shows plenty of staying power. He's no quitter, and yeah, the tide has turned. Bill Jackson has him up against the ropes. Bill Jackson has licked the Stork Chocolate Reason, and now he's enjoying his victory. Stork Chocolate Reason, the Chocolate Challenge.
Tonight, it's the start of the holiday eating season. Richard Simmons will tell us how to enjoy all that turkey without ending up looking like one. Meet him tonight on Larry King Live, 9 Eastern on CNN.
Former hostage Thomas Sutherland is expected to arrive in Dallas any minute now. It will be the first time he's touched American soil in more than 6 years. Sutherland and his wife left Germany earlier today. They boarded a plane in Frankfurt and headed for home. The pro-Iranian militants released Sutherland last week after holding him in captivity in London. Mr. Sutherland and his wife will not be in Dallas long, however. They will board a plane later today, headed for California for a family celebration out on the left coast. President Bush today challenged schools to catch up with changing times. Mr. Bush traveled to Columbus, Ohio, seeking support for his education reforms, a plan called America 2000. It aims to make America's students the best in math and science by the year 2000. Mr. Bush praised Ohio's commitment to improving education. He visited several vocational programs in Columbus schools. In a speech, the president accused Congress of blocking education reforms by rejecting plans that would allow parents to choose between public and private schools. Before he left the White House today, the president handed down a presidential pardon. It went to the National Thanksgiving turkey. That means the big bird is bound for a petting zoo, not the White House dinner table. The turkey has been given to a president annually by the National Turkey Federation, a tradition for more than 40 years now. Mr. Bush called this year's Thanksgiving a kind of homecoming for Desert Storm veterans, recalling that he had joined U.S. troops in the Saudi Arabian desert last Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving is a uniquely American holiday. And as we thank the Lord for his blessings of freedom, security, and peace, we also remember those Americans who are out of work, in poor health, or just plain lonely. We seek solutions to the problems facing our nation. Most of all, the repair of hope and an end to homelessness and hunger.
Mr. Bush says $161 million worth of food left over from the Gulf War has been given to the needy. The First Lady accepted the official White House Christmas tree today. Barbara Bush stepped out in the brisk cold to place the last ornament on top of the tree. That tree and others inside the White House will be on display throughout the Christmas season. An Oregon tree will grace the Blue Room in the White House. It's the first time an Oregon tree was named Grand Champion in the National Christmas Tree Association's competition and accorded the honor of becoming the White House Christmas tree. Still ahead on Newsday, the story we've been teasing you about, insurance policies for your pets. Make sure you get them taken care of. A fertility furor will examine some troubling questions raised by a burgeoning business, the buying and selling of sperm and eggs. And we'll tell you why koala bears are struggling to survive.
Let's light up the night like never before. Let's do it upright. Let's go for more. Go fish.
This season, go for something more at Long John's. Beautiful holiday crystal. Just 69 or 99 cents with any meal.
At Long John Silver, you're gonna get your wish. Go fish.
Go for our 6-piece batter dip shrimp and fries special. Just $1.99.
When you work in a doctor's office during cold season, you're going to get a cold. And I've got a butte. Hard to tell? That's because I took this. Advil Cold and Sinus. From the makers of Advil. It's tough on colds, like Advil is on pain. Gets you through congestion, fever, or bad sore throat. Believe me. I know.
Advil Cold and Sinus. Advanced formula for the cold season.
Newsday continues, followed by International Hour after this local commercial break here on CNN.
Dennis P. Roberts is. The area's premier sports and art gallery for people who want the best.
Dennis P. Roberts is... the area's premier sports and art gallery for people who want the best.
We have not lost our lease. And to celebrate, we're having a GE factory authorized mega sale. It's going on now at Martin's Appliance. You'll beat next year's price increase on all GE major appliances. No payments till February and free local delivery. Price, selection, and Martin's quality service. 3 reasons to shop the GE factory authorized mega sale right now at Martin's Appliance, Des Moines Appliance Superstore, Sherwood Forest Shopping Center.
This is CNN.
Among our top stories, Congress is working to wrap up its work for the year. In the face of another threatened presidential veto, President Bush promised today to veto a sweeping anti-crime bill, saying it could weaken the criminal justice system. That bill includes a 5-day waiting period for the purchase of a handgun and expands the federal death penalty. The White House is dismissing reports that John Sununu's job is in jeopardy. Presidential spokesman Marlon Fitzwater says the White House Chief of Staff's job has never been in danger. And First Lady Barbara Bush calls reports that she wants Sununu out absolutely untrue and ugly, as she put it. Firefighters expect a brush fire burning in the Los Angeles area to be controlled within the next hour. The fire has charred nearly 1,500 acres around the suburb of Sylmar. No major damage or injuries reported. Beverly Schuch now with business news from New York.
Thanks, Lou. The Bulls have picked up the ball on Wall Street, but they're struggling to keep stocks in the plus column so far today. Stocks have been down 19 points and up 12. Right now, the Dow Jones Industrial Average is up just about 2 points at 2904, back above the 2900 level. Volume is active, 131 million shares traded hands so far. Decliners still leading advancers by a 3-2 margin. And on the broader and secondary markets, the four key indicators are mixed. Only the Standard & Poor's 500 index is showing a gain. Among the day's winners so far, Vodafone recently demerged from parent Rayco Electronics. It is up 2 points at 64.5. The company reports profits rose by 15% in the 6 months ending September 30th. Tenneco is also gaining today. It's up 1 5/8 at 34.5. The company agreeing to sell its gas liquids business to Enron Corporation for $632 million. Short-term interest rates fell at the Treasury's auction today. 2-year notes yielded an average 5.51%. That is the lowest level in about 15 years. It is also down from an average 6.01% at last month's auction. Long-term interest rates are edging lower. The Treasury's benchmark bond now yielding 7.95%, the price up 4 ticks. OPEC oil cartel is meeting in Vienna this week to discuss production levels. Saudi Arabia is expected to ask for a higher output ceiling. The cartel is facing a possible glut of oil supplies on the world market come spring. Right now in New York trading, the U.S. benchmark crude is up 13 cents a barrel at $21.34. That after losing $1.46 last week. And that is the latest in business news. We will have another update in an hour. Be sure to join us tonight for Moneyline with Lou Dobbs. 1 out of every 3 cars sold in America is Japanese. We'll take a look at how the American car industry is struggling to catch up with its toughest competitor. That's tonight on Moneyline at 7 and 11:30 Eastern. One final check of the Dow right now shows that it is up 4 points. I'm Beverly Schuch at the New York Stock Exchange.
We'll check with you a little later, Beverly. It's now possible to carry medical insurance on your pets. And as Bill Hartley reports in today's edition of Your Money, the cost is fairly low compared to the often high cost of a veterinarian.
Just like people, pets can get hurt or become sick too. When that happens, many pet owners are caught off guard by the high price of medical treatment for their animals.
The problem, of course, is that this equipment costs a lot of money, and especially in today's high technology field. And so many times the animal owner is desirous of having more extravagant treatment than is financially available.
But if you have a dog or cat, you're in luck. 2 companies offer canine and feline health insurance coverage. There's the Veterinary Pet Insurance Company in Anaheim, California, and the Animal Health Insurance Agency in Danbury, Connecticut. Neither company will insure puppies or kittens younger than 2 months, and the Animal Health Insurance Agency has an age limit. Dogs and cats over 10 years old can be covered for injuries, but not illnesses. You obtain a pet policy much the same way you do human health insurance.
They just have to apply for it. There's a 40 to 60-day waiting period before illnesses are covered. And, of course, there's exclusions for pre-existing conditions.
The average cost for pet insurance is under $150 a year. Each company offers several policies with varying coverage and deductibles. Deductibles can range from $20 to $250. But the cost of having your dog's broken hind leg treated, for instance, could run as high as $600. That's Your Money. Bill Hartley, CNN Business News, New York.
Sports is coming up. The NFL has a fallen comrade on its mind throughout Sunday's action. Jim Huber, straight ahead here on CNN.
It feels as refreshing as it looks. The new shower massage from Teledyne Waterpik.
Presenting a way to make life a lot simpler. The Clapper. Turn on a lamp. Turn on the music. Turn off the TV. Use it anywhere you need a helping hand.
Simple.
Plug it in and insert the plug from just about anything.
Simple. Clap on, clap off, clap on, clap off. The Clapper.
Give it a big hand.
The Clapper is available at Woolworth, Walgreens, Eckerd, and participating True Value. Makes a great gift.
Come, slip into a Polynex-style massage. Dial your choice of 4 shower heads. Tingling, pulsing, vigorous, a fabulous mist. Turn on a smile with Polynex.
The Polynex High-Intensity Power Massage. The perfect way to conduct your life with less stress and fewer aching muscles. Turn on a smile with Polynex.
We will control the horizontal. Saturday, the Outer Limits take over TNT with 9 episodes in 9 hours. Nobody plays like TNT.
I'm Catherine Cryer. On the International Hour today, we'll take a look at something that will make the television set you're watching obsolete. It's called HDTV, and you'll be hearing a lot more about it. Also during today's International Hour, CNN's Wolf Blitzer hosts a special report, the Pearl Harbor Codes. His guests include General Colin Powell, chairman of the Joint Chiefs. Join me at the top of the hour for a look at the news of the world and a look back into history. Luke?
All right, Jim Huber's here. It seems as though everyone I watched football with this weekend had thought of serious injury on their mind as they watched the game.
And everybody that they were watching had that on their mind as well. It was a very conscious Sunday. It was one of the strangest, wildest, most upsetting days in years around the NFL, but for some, there was a very sobering bottom line, especially in the Pontiac Silverdome, where life was put into its proper perspective a week ago.
It could have gone either way, though Hollywood has always dictated that moments such as Sunday should be positive, the Gipper and all. And so the Detroit Lions garnered every bit of emotional strength that they could find. The memory of a week ago and a fallen teammate foremost in their minds. They were focused.
That's one word that kept coming up before the game. I think before we tended to kind of drift off and concern ourselves with a lot of things that really didn't matter. But this week, having experienced what we have as far as the injury to Mike and everything, we made it a special point to come in today and from the onset get on top of them.
And nobody did that any better than the brilliant running back Barry Sanders, who rushed for 220 yards and 4 touchdowns against the Vikings in a 20-point victory.
It's kind of one of those days you've been waiting for all year long. Guys stacking the line and really frustrating our running game. And then to be able to come in and have a big day is really a relief.
They were focused on staying in the wild card playoff hunt, but they were determined because of the tragic paralyzing injury to teammate Mike Utley just last Sunday.
You try to block it out, but the thought always lingers. You've seen time and time again where it's happened. It's not the first time. And, they always show videos on injury protections and how to prevent injuries and things like that, but it always happens. It happens in everything, though, and not just sports.
But sports is where the headlines are and where a nation's heart can be. Don't think Mike Utley wasn't somewhere very near the Giants' thoughts yesterday when they brought the stretcher out for their quarterback, Jeff Hostetler, and then carried linebacker Lawrence Taylor off as well.
Real tough, it's tough on you, it's tough on people around you, and, you hate to see somebody hurt like that, but, Lawrence is a strong guy, he's a real tough football player, and he'll respond to it.
You get scared, because you can easily be you. One play and you don't know when the next play can be your last, it can easily be you. And you just get a scared feeling, but then you try to block it out your mind, because if you go out there scared, that's when, accidents and injuries normally happen. But it's tough, though, to block it out. When you see a guy being taken out on a stretcher, that's scary. It's very, very, very scary.
Hostetler broke a bone in his back in that injury yesterday. No neurological damage. They say he remains in the hospital today for observation. Lawrence Taylor's injury was a strained ligament in his left knee, less severe than Hostetler's. Mike Utley, meanwhile, will remain paralyzed for life, so say his doctors. More when sports returns in early prime at 4 o'clock Eastern Time. Lou?
See that, Jim? A number of convicted criminals on parole and probation across the United States continues to increase. But the Justice Department says the figures only parallel growth in the nation's prison population. Department figures show that at the end of 1990, more than 2.5 million adults were on probation, more than 500,000 were on parole. The Justice Department said prison and jail populations have grown by 128% since 1980, and this is forcing more people out of crowded prison facilities. Men from age 30 to 80 may be losing their hearing twice as fast as women. The federal study also found that recent generations have poorer hearing than earlier ones, but the government warns the study has not been confirmed by follow-up research. Officials say the study came from a select group of volunteers, and it's not clear whether those results would apply to the general population. Officials said the study did suggest a possible influence from some type of trend in U.S. society, such as the use of high-powered stereo equipment. An increasing number of women are choosing to get pregnant by in vitro fertilization. That's when doctors plant a fertilized egg into a woman's womb. Usually the egg has been donated by another woman. And as Patty Panicia reports, donating eggs is a growing business.
Sydney, who's here? Who's this? Right here.
A baby for Joni Mosby Mitchell, who at 52 decided she wanted another child and had another woman's egg implanted in her uterus.
First of all, the sperm is your husband, so you know what half's going to be. And you meet this person who's just such a wonderful person, you know you're going to have a wonderful person.
Mitchell met the woman who donated the egg and paid her $1,500. 4 years ago, Mitchell would have had to find her own donor, usually a relative. But a growing number of clinics now provide donors. The medical profession doesn't limit the amount a donor can be paid, and some question the ethics of paying what they believe are high prices.
There should be no commercialization, either of sperm, of ova, of wombs, and so on.
The American Fertility Society has published guidelines limiting payment to expenses, time, inconvenience, and risk. Sperm donors receive only $40. Egg donation is more complicated and involves risk. Some doctors argue that $2,000 is not unreasonable.
They do a month's worth of medication. They have to be put to sleep. They have to take time off work. They have sore lower abdomens afterwards for several weeks. They have to abstain from intercourse with their husband.
Susan Scott was paid for all 11 eggs she's donated, but she says she was motivated only by a desire to help infertile women.
I had my own infertility problems, and I could relate to what these women were going through, and I figured it was something that I could do to help somebody else.
Couples usually spend $10,000 for the entire procedure. Only 1 in 3 is successful. Many couples try more than once, spending $20,000 or even $30,000, willing to have a baby at any price. Patty Panicia for CNN, Ventura, California.
News for Medicine is brought to you by Bristol-Myers Squibb Company, makers of new day-night contracts. Finally, day and night cold medicines together in one package.
Hey, I thought you were home with a miserable cold.
I was, but now I feel better.
Well, did you take Sudafed for your stuffy nose?
No, I took Comtrax. It does it all.
Chlortrimeton for your sneezing.
I only took Comtrax.
Regular Tylenol for your aches and pains. Benylin DM for your cough.
All I took was Comtrax.
She'd have had to take each of these just to get all the relief that's in 2 Comtrax. Comtrax does it all. Also, look for new non-drowsy Comtrax.
Tonight, the name, the allegations, the most talked about trial of the year. How will William Kennedy Smith defend himself against sexual assault charges? On CNN's The World Today, 6 p.m. Eastern tonight.
Grandma's got a date. What's a date? That's when you hug someone.
Closeness. You might hesitate if you wore a diaper. So Johnson & Johnson created Serenity Guards, bladder-controlled protection so advanced it holds as much as something 5 times its size and stays dry, locking liquid in.
Grandma, are you gonna hug him? Hug me.
Oh. Give yourself hugs for discovering Serenity from Johnson & Johnson.
I crave snacks, but sometimes those calories
have to be tabled. No problem. I've got Wrigley's Spearmint Gum. The great taste I love and only 10 little calories. Instead of munching, I enjoy pure chewing satisfaction.
Have you had your V8 today? Did you know that V8 juice has less than half the calories of that apple?
Wow!
V8 is a nutritious blend of 8 vegetable juices that taste terrific. Have you had your V8 today?
Complaints of nosebleeds, peeling skin, and headache have prompted California health authorities to investigate whether those problems are related to an herbicide spill. A freight train carrying the herbicide metam-sodium derailed near Dunsmuir, California, near Lake Shasta 4 months ago. More than 13,000 gallons of the herbicide spilled overnight, but Dunsmuir residents weren't warned of the spill until the next morning. They say they've had a variety of health problems ever since. The Environmental Protection Agency recently stiffened controls on the use of metam-sodium. The EPA says animal studies on the herbicide have been inconclusive. Drivers in New York's Adirondacks are being advised to travel with blankets, a shovel, and bags of sand, and that's because of hazardous winter-like weather that covers everything from the Northeast through the Midwest. Snowstorm has dumped about 20 inches of snow in Michigan's Upper Peninsula, and cold weather has contributed to the exposure death of a man in Erie, Pennsylvania. With more on the storm and the rest of the weather, here's Flip Spiceland.
Thanks, Lou. In the Midwest, they're out of it now. That storm has now moved off well into Canada, but the wraparound behind it, the cold air coming around this low-pressure center, still whipping across the Great Lakes into portions of New England, western New York, so the Adirondacks still in pretty rough shape at this hour. Although I must tell you, with the last couple of hours, the snow has died down somewhat. Good news out of this is ski resorts in New England are going to pick up some snowfall. I think snowfall will stay in here scattered about throughout the remainder of the day and on into tomorrow, despite the fact that the storm will be moving away and continuing to weaken. We told you about this on Friday, that this would move through the upper Midwest and produce near blizzard conditions. It did. Heaviest snowfall amounts from the upper peninsula of Michigan, where they saw as much as 30 inches of snowfall. Actually, we've had unofficial reports of even more than that. Today already, as much as 6 inches of snowfall reported in some places in western New York. Again, unofficial reports of even more than that. There is a clear, cool weather pattern across much of the east and the Midwest today. We have a little upper level disturbance right here that rolled down, raced down actually from the northwest across the central Rockies, and now is going to move about like this. But at this hour, there's really not much coming out of this. Have a little rain, I believe, in the Texas Panhandle. Earlier, we had a little rain in northern Missouri. This did produce some significant snow in the ski resort areas of central Colorado. This is the big holiday week. A lot of folks travel. Some people say this is the biggest travel week of the year. Wednesday and then late in the weekend are the big travel days. If there are going to be travel problems, it will come from this storm. Right now, at this moment, it looks like the storm is going to stay far enough to the north that not many of us will be plagued by this. But there is the possibility that a lot of this will slide down through the Rockies, through the Plain States area. And by Wednesday, we could see some significant weather, rain or possibly snow here in the plains. And then on Thanksgiving Day, this could be into the Mississippi Valley, filling the Mississippi Valley. This would possibly cause, this is so far ahead, it's difficult to say, this could possibly cause problems at airports like O'Hare, Minneapolis, St. Paul, maybe Denver. Now, I think the Minneapolis and Chicago problems would more be on Thanksgiving Day than they would be on Wednesday. But throughout the week, we'll try to keep you posted on your travel situation for this, the big travel week. Look now at our CNN color radar summary. You notice that the cloudiness in the middle of the country, not doing much at all. A little rain here in the Panhandle, still a little bit here in Missouri. This is some of the snow that we were talking about, so it's died down a little bit over the last few hours. This is rain and snow here, and I don't see any let up in that at all. As a matter of fact, in the northern Rockies, that's really going to increase within the next 24 hours. Look at our forecast weather map for later in the day. The snow coming off the Great Lakes area in the northeast will be a problem, and I don't see much change in this throughout the night and on into tomorrow. Where it's snowing in here now will continue to snow. Now, this may clear out back here, but I think this band of snow here will stay with us. In the northwest, the storm continues to move on in, but notice the center of this storm stays well up here in Canada. Right now, take a look at specific forecasts for cities around the nation for tomorrow. Now more news. Here's Lou.
All right, Flip, in Vermont, some children are learning they didn't just have cereal or toast for breakfast. They had seeds. They're being taught that food comes from the earth, not the supermarket. Here's today's food and health report.
Basically, most elementary school children think that milk just comes from a cardboard box and bread comes from the grocery store.
And we're going to do a whole bunch of activities that have to do with harvesting and preserving.
So we try to develop an opportunity here where children go through hands-on experience to give them a closer connection to their food and natural resources.
Give it any idea? Who knows what they had for breakfast? Okay, Josh, right? Pop-Tart, how about, are there seeds in Pop-Tarts? I had toast. Did I have a seed? Yes. Yeah. How about, let's see. Right in this container, these are the seeds that you had for breakfast. Close your eyes and open your hands. Okay, and I'm going to pass out some seeds, and you can feel it, and you can smell it, and you can even put it on the back of your teeth and grind it up.
They're grinding the wheat berry down into flour.
What's going to come out? Flour. What kind of flour? Wheat flour, you're right.
And then they'll put all the ingredients together to make bread. Now bread just isn't something that comes in a plastic bag from the grocery store.
What else do you think we need?
In the corn grinding, they're learning that we eat all kinds of seeds, that we don't just eat wheat.
Good job. Is this hard work? Is that hand turning?
We could make corn bread with it.
Any other ideas? What do you all eat that's from corn?
Does anyone eat Doritos?
Got it.
By looking for seeds out in the woods and in the fields, children are understanding that we use different parts of the plant. Sometimes a child may eat a stem, they may eat a root, they may eat a flower.
No, there's some right here.
We're hoping that they won't take their natural resources for granted, that they'll have a better understanding of their dependence upon natural resources. So therefore, they'll take better care of them. They'll be better stewards of our natural resources.
That program, incidentally, is being taught on a farm in Shelburne, Vermont. And coming up here on Newsday, we'll tell you why modern times have not been good times for Australia's cute, cuddly koala bears.
As you brave another cold winter, remember Amana. With efficient, dependable heating systems, people have been warming up to night after night. Amana.
Have you had your V8 today? Did you know that V8 juice has more vitamins A and C than that tossed salad? Wow! V8 is a nutritious blend of 8 vegetable juices that taste terrific. Have you had your V8 today?
Look what's popping up, that's free. Special K waffles from Eggo. Once you see how good fat-free can be, whoa, no, you never let go.
No way. It's all mine.
Special K waffles from Eggo.
Eggo Special K waffles. Crisp, delicious, yet every bite fat-free, cholesterol-free, and just 80 calories per waffle. See how good fat-free can be.
Whoa, no, you never let go. Nah. Special K waffles from Eggo.
Grandma's got a date. What's a date? That's when you hug someone.
Closeness. You might hesitate if you wore a diaper. So Johnson & Johnson created Serenity Guards, bladder control protection so advanced it holds as much as something 5 times its size and stays dry, locking liquid in.
Grandma, are you gonna hug him? Hug me.
Oh. Give yourself hugs for discovering Serenity from Johnson & Johnson.
I crave snacks, but sometimes those calories have to be tabled. No problem. I've got Wrigley's Spearmint Gum. The great taste I love and only 10 little calories. Instead of munching, I enjoy pure chewing satisfaction.
Sports.
Showbiz.
Finance.
Style.
The pros. The cons. Debate.
Food. Advice.
Weather.
Talk.
CNN. We're the news you need and much more.
In Australia, cutting the wrong tree can mean an ill fate for the nation's koala bears. Bruce Burkhart reports on the fight by biologists to save the habitat essential for the koala's survival.
I'll be able to get up to that little branch.
It is Australia's national symbol, but modern times have not been good times for the koala.
Now Australia will be crawling with tourists. Unbearable.
The koala in the commercial may have been onto something. Not that an airline can be blamed for the koala's current predicament. Its uncontrolled growth, clear-cutting, and even well-intentioned selective cutting that's ravaging a habitat as fragile as the koala is cuddly.
Small snow gum. Up.
A cattle ranch outside Sydney, Australia. But cattle aren't the only creatures thriving here.
That's great. Good girl.
Like so much of Australia's landscape, this area was cleared to make way for a cattle ranch. Some clumps of trees were left behind, and by happy coincidence, they were the right kind of trees.
There are about 500 or 600 different species of eucalyptus trees in Australia, and the koala uses only about 30 of those for its food.
Several types of those critical eucalyptus are here, and that's why these researchers are here, trying to define exactly what good koala habitat is.
Come on, little guy. Go over to your mum.
They're studying the nursing females because their habitat demands are the greatest.
If, say, there was an area where animals didn't have those requirements, then obviously a population of koalas could not maintain itself. That's good. In there.
Though this wild animal may not take kindly to being stuffed into a bag, she seems to realize later that these folks have her best interest at heart.
Come on in, don't move your head. That's good.
Before they're released, a radio collar is attached so the koala's movement can be monitored. Knowing which kind of trees the koalas prefer is what developers and land managers need to know.
Without knowing what those food trees are, they could be creating a desert for a koala just by removing the wrong trees.
I gotta find a higher tree.
A higher tree? Not to mention the right kind of tree.
Not that way.
Bruce Burkhardt, CNN reporting.
And that's Newsday. I'm Lou Waters. Now Catherine Cryer with what's ahead on the International Hour.
Thanks, Lou. High-definition television hits the airwaves in Japan, packing the punch color had compared with black and white years ago. We'll talk with an expert about this new era in broadcasting. And our military affairs correspondent Wolf Blitzer will be here with a CNN special. New questions and perhaps answers about the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. That and much more next on CNN.
Coming up, International Hour, followed by Early Prime after a word from your local cable system here on CNN.
I cried.
To order, call toll-free 1-800-257-1257 to save all COD charges and pay only $12.98 for records or cassettes or $16.98 for compact disc, plus $3 shipping. Use your credit card or send check or money order to Anne Murray, P.O. Box 8250, Atlanta, Georgia. Remember, Save COD charges by sending check or money order or use your credit card.